back to the Not So Modern Housewife. I am Bonnie and I am here to teach you how to grow your own food. If you are interested in more gardening and homesteading videos, make sure that you like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. Now, to get started, today we are going to be talking about selecting potatoes for growing in Central Florida. And also kind of why we want to go with seed potatoes versus just starting potatoes from your grocery store. I know, it's a very controversial subject. What varieties can we grow in Florida? Now, Florida's growing season is a little bit weird. We don't really have one long growing season. We really have two short growing seasons, and then we have summer. And our two short growing seasons are distinguished by a couple weeks of freezing temperatures in between. So why can't we grow potatoes in the summer? Potatoes do not like our wet, humid summers. Or at least Irish potatoes don't. Sweet potatoes, you can grow those all day long, but they're not a true potato. In terms of potatoes, they are way too prone to rot and fungal issues. They don't like wet soil. They like really well-drained soil. We have a lot of pests in the soil and they are very susceptible to those pests. So this is why I actually grow mine in grow bags and not directly in the ground, because I've had too many issues with just things in the soil eating my potatoes. And on the flip side of that, they are very susceptible to frost. So they are very, very frost intolerant, I guess you could say. So we really just have the fall and the spring. So this is our time when we can plant them for spring, this being March. I technically could have started them like January, February. Really didn't see them in stores. And the place that I normally order my potatoes from, which is up in Maine, doesn't ship in the winter because of the frost and they are under snow. So I had to wait until these showed up in Tractor Supply, which was just a couple weeks ago. And then I kind of let them sit until they got eyes on them. So you can see, these are the eyes. You can see some growth there already starting. They're getting a little bit soft, so it's about time that I need to think about putting them in the ground. So since this is March and we're looking at wanting to have them done by the end of May, that really only gives us 90 days. So we need a potato that's only going to take 70 to 90 days to mature. Russet potatoes take like 120 plus days. So we really cannot grow russet potatoes here in Florida. Possibly South Florida, as long as you're not getting freezes. So if you started them early in the fall and then harvest them in the spring. But for my part of Central Florida, since we do get the freezes in the winter, we can't grow them straight through, unless I had a greenhouse, but obviously I don't. So the potatoes that I chose, these are Redskins, and then I have Yukon Golds, and then this is my first year doing the purple variety, which there are a few different purples. Adirondack Blue. So I really like the Yukon Golds. I really like the Redskins too. The Redskins are my favorite for roasting. The Yukon Golds, they taste like butter, and that's the biggest thing with growing your own potatoes. The flavor is just so much better, and really the texture too, because they're creamier and they're softer. And these guys, they're a new potato. They grow very quickly, but they don't store super well because they have such a thin skin on them. But if you're, you can harvest them and eat them that same day. You don't need to cure them or anything like that before you're able to eat them, which is a major plus. All right. So if you're looking for potatoes for Central Florida, you're looking for these new varieties. Another thing you can look at is fingerling potatoes. Now, why do I choose the seed potatoes versus just using potatoes that have sprouted from the grocery store? I'm not saying you can't use the ones that sprouted from the grocery store. A lot of people do. They have no issues. The problem is, and the reason why these are certified, they have the blue tags on them, is that they have been checked to make sure that they are pest and disease free. All right. The ones that are at the grocery store, they've just been harvested and thrown in a bag and off they go. So you don't know if that soil had any soil-borne pests in it, or any type of disease or anything like that on it, because you're going to wash it and cook it before you eat it. So they're not worried about if you might plant that in your garden and then pass a pest on or a disease on from someone else's field. All right. So that's the biggest thing. If you are going to go with grocery store potatoes. You're going to need to look for organic because a lot of times the conventional has been treated to keep them from sprouting so they have a longer storage life. Same thing with ginger or turmeric, any of those things that does sprout that you can grow from the root. You're going to want to check that. All right. Now, in terms of using these guys, I have 3 trays here. So I'm going to have 1 tray for each of my varieties. And what you want is you want a couple eyes per section, but you don't really want to leave like the whole potato like this. We're going to want to cut them into segments. A lot of these smaller ones, I can really just cut them in half. I just want to make sure that it has a couple eyes on each section. So like this one, I'm going to kind of cut it a little bit funky at a bit of a diagonal here because the bottom half doesn't have as many eyes on it as this top half, the top half being the part that has all that growth on it. But I do still have some little eyes here that have some growth. So I'm just gonna set these in my tray and put these down here. And the reason that I want to split these apart is so that I can increase my harvest. Kind of giving the eyes some space because each of these eyes has the potential to become a plant. And I'm going to be planting a couple of potatoes per grow bag or a couple of sections. But I want to give those plants some space so that they have enough root space to actually develop the potatoes. So like this one, I can cut that way, and then I can even cut it this way. Now, not everyone lets their potatoes dry before they plant them. You've got a lot of potato growers saying you don't need to. I have planted them without letting them dry, and they've done perfectly fine. All this does is it'll create a film or like a skin on that part that I cut. This one doesn't really have a whole lot of eyes in this other section, so I'm just gonna leave that like that. And it should prevent diseases and things from affecting the potato. I mean, part of the reason that I haven't had issues is probably because I am using sterile soil when I'm growing these guys. Just because, again, I have so many pests in my soil, I just don't trust it. Plus another reason why I am going to go ahead and cut them and cure them, and that was a mistake. I cut it right by the eye. It didn't affect it, but this eye, I meant for this eye to be on the other half of the potato, and now it's not. So set that way, but this does still have some eyes on it, so I'm good. But part of the reason that I am going to go ahead and cut them and cure them is just because I need to wash my grow bags before I plant in them. So, and I probably need to get another bag of soil. Although I don't, I do kind of like a tower method with these, where I plant them in the bottom of the bag and then I add soil as they grow. So, and I have another video on, or at least on the beginning process of that. And so I can get more soil as they get larger. I don't need enough soil to fill the bags just yet. That's another one that doesn't have a whole lot of eyes on it. I guess it has, I'm gonna split it this way. Those may or may not develop into anything. You can see some of these, like, so the big thick stem here, that's gonna be the stem of the plant. It's gonna go up, and then these roots are gonna go down into the soil. And the potatoes really grow off of that stem. Now these differ from sweet potatoes in that you leave that eye attached to the potato. If you're growing sweet potatoes, then you grow slips where you actually pop the slips off of the potato, but we do not do that with Irish potatoes. Now you'll notice these guys, they're red skins, but they're still white on this inside. You do have some red skins that are red all the way through. Just different varieties. These make a really nice mashed potato that you don't have to take the skin off of. You can also roast them or stick them in, crock pots, just like do red skins. I'm gonna slice one of these so you can see the inside of it. these eyes don't come off, but you see, got purple flesh on the inside. And again, I usually will use these as roasted potatoes when I buy them from the grocery store. But now we won't have to buy them from the grocery store because we're going to grow our own, right?
Yep.
Yep. Got them all out of there?
No.
Working on it?
You slice all my purples. You can slice this one.
Ooh, I don't think we're going to grow that one. That one doesn't look too good.
Can I put it on here?
No, we're going to throw it away.
Okay. I put
So that is something else. You want to check your potatoes to make sure like they don't have any mold and stuff growing on them. So they don't look rotten. Like I said, I usually get I usually get my potatoes from Woodbridge Farm out of Maine. These are out of Minnesota, DeGroot, which is what our Tractor Supply carries. So we'll see how they compare, but they don't look too bad. And I'm not worried about there being dirt because, like I said, you know, it's been tested to make sure it's free of things. And when it comes to soil, Florida's more likely to have pests in the soil than anybody. So this is a tiny little potato, and I'm not even gonna bother cutting it, but I'll still set it on the tray with everybody else. That's really it for now. I'm gonna finish slicing these up, and then I'll give them a couple of days to cure and let that kind of skin over the cut side, and then I'll grow them in the grow bags. And I'll do, already got a video on actually planting in the grow bags from previous season, but I'll have more videos on like their growing progress through this season. Yeah. And then we'll actually be able to do some videos of us harvesting and eating the potatoes. How's that sound?
Good.
Good. You like potatoes?
Yeah.
Yeah, he likes potatoes. All my kids like potatoes, huh? Our whole family likes
You
potatoes.
can cut this.
I can cut that one. Okay. All right. I've got to get back to work. So catch you guys next time.
I can cut this one. I can cut this one.
No. Let me, no knives.